Hi mathematicians. In this video, we are going to work through the Unit 4 study guide. For problem number 1, you should take the inequality that is in the problem. And while you could solve it by hand, the easiest step would be to enter it into desmos.com/calculator. So start there. If you haven't done that yet, pause the video, please, and then do that, where you enter this into Desmos and then restart the video once you're ready, because you have it entered into the calculator. Once you've entered it into the calculator, you'll probably have to hit the zoom out button at first. And once you do, you're going to end up with something that looks like this. So let's analyze what the graph is saying. First of all, the fact, if you look at the line right here, you'll see that the line is a dashed line, which means no equal to. We can verify that when we look at our inequality, because there is no equal to underneath our inequality symbol. If there were, there would be a line right underneath the inequality symbol. But since we don't have one, that means no equal to. You can also see that the graph shows everything to the left of that boundary line is shaded. And to the left means less than. And the line goes through the number here, 22. So that means that solutions to this inequality will be numbers that are less than 22. So any solution to this inequality is going to be a number less than 22. So the only number in our list that is less than 22 is going to be 21, which is right here. So for number 1, you should have for number 1, you should have C. Number 2 is a little bit, it looks harder than it actually is. Yes, there are a whole lot of words in this problem. However, you'll notice that they actually give you the inequality that you need. You don't have to write your own inequality. And you know that because it says the words, the inequality represents the situation. So they have already given you the inequality. And so if I look at part A and what it's asking me to do, it says get n by itself. So get n by itself is just another way of saying isolate. So I'm going to take the inequality that's given to me, and I'm going to isolate the n. So I have n's on both sides of the equal sign. I need to cancel one of them. To cancel positive 10n, I will do a minus 10n in order to cancel. But because it's an inequality, just like equations, if I do minus 10n on this side, I have to do minus 10n on this side also. So that is canceled. I'm going to bring down 200. I'm going to do 50n minus 10n. 50 minus 10 is 40n. Bring down my symbol in the middle. And then to cancel the 40, I must divide both sides by 40. So I have the solution, n is greater than 200 divided by 40, which is going to be 5. If you're having a hard time with the steps for solving, that's okay, because you could also type it into the Desmos calculator, but make sure that instead of an N, you change it to X's, because the Desmos calculator does not understand N. So you would need to type in an X instead. If you type it into the Desmos calculator, the output you will get from the calculator is that everything to the right of 5 is shaded, and so to the right is greater than. So every number that is greater than 5, because again, it's shaded to the right where the greater than numbers are. And so as you can see, that matches the inequality that we got. So any number, again, that is greater than 5 will be a solution to this inequality. So the question, will the photographer make a profit if she conducts 8 portrait sessions? In other words, what it's asking is 8 a solution to this inequality? And we should say yes. And the reason we should say yes is because the solution is any number that is greater than 5. And 8 is, so again, we would say yes, because the solution set is any number that is greater than 5, and 8 is greater than 5. In this scenario, if you need a moment, pause to read it to make sure that you understand what it's talking about, and then restart the video once you are ready and you think you have an answer so that you can check. I'm going to start first by noticing that B needs to represent the number of banners and that S represents the number of signs. The first thing I notice is that the club plans to create some of each, banners and signs. So we need both, and we need both banners and signs. So we need both of them. So because of that, A will be a correct answer. And the reason A will be correct is because it's saying that you'll have more than 0. So more than 0 banners, which makes sense because it says that they want some of each. So maybe they only make 1, but however many they make, they need more than 0. That is the same reason that B is not going to be correct, because this is saying if this were true, it would mean that we can have less than 0 signs. Well, we can't have less than 0 signs, because that would mean we have a negative number of signs, which doesn't make sense. You can't have a negative number of signs. Our next limit is the club has 120 square feet of workspace. So the workspace could be equal to 120 square feet if they decided to use the whole thing, or maybe they decide not to use all of the square footage that they have. So the workspace could also be less than. So we're looking for an inequality that features less than or equal to 120 square feet. So because the inequality is less than or equal to to 120 square feet. That is the reason that F cannot be correct, because F features a greater than. It's saying the amount of space they could use could be greater than or equal to 120. And we know that that is not true. So because it says that a banner requires 8 square feet, and we are using the letter B to represent banners, the square footage that we would use to represent the amount of banner square footage would be 8B, which does show up down here in this inequality. So this one might be correct. It also says each sign requires 5 square feet of space. So we would represent that as 5 So 5 times S, which does show up down here in this inequality. And then also we see that we have the inequality that we need right here, because this one is less than or equal to 120. So A is a solution, and we also have E as a solution, but there's one more also. That's because right here it says at least 10 banners and signs. So at least 10 means that the number could be greater than or equal to 10. And we can see that we have that right here with D. So number 3 has the 3 responses that are correct of A, D, and E, because C is not going to be correct because the inequality is less than or equal to 120, not an equal to. So C is not going to be correct either, because C is saying they would have exactly 120 banners and signs, and it's actually going to be at least 10.